Oh. Oh, what's going on, man? What's up? Oh, what's going on, brother? What's going on, brother? How are you? I'm doing okay. How are you doing? Doing better than you. Doing way better than you. All right. I mean, is there something that you wanted? Can you at least come in all in the room or something? I can kind of introduce you to the people in the video if you want. Oh, well, I just wanted to let you know that I'm getting kind of sick of like this whole thing. This whole fucking thing you got going on here. I'm getting fucking irritated. I'll be honest with you about that. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. So, what do you mean? I don't understand what you're trying to... Oh, you're just a piece of shit, and everybody knows it, and that's just, and yet you don't. Do you know what I mean? That's just what fucking irritates me. That's all. I just want to say that to you real quick. Okay. Let's just get into the I don't know. Let's get into the video. What's going on, man? What's up? Welcome to another fucking day. Doing something else. We don't really know what we're doing right now. I don't know. Sometimes it's when you talk to yourself. Sometimes he's an asshole. You know. Something that I've been really pondering about in my head is something that's been kind of happening to me of late, and that's some people around me and coming to terms with things that are going on inside of themselves. We all like to have this illusion like we're just in control of our lives, or that every day is a step towards some sort of end. And an end, I mean like a material end, like happiness, cured, no more depression, you know what I mean, like enough money to finally blah blah blah. We all have this kind of weird material belief in our head that like there's some goal to obtain. And it's funny, the older I get, the more I'm kind of like, I don't know if I fucking believe that. I don't think there's this overall, and then happiness, and I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I believe that as I've been getting older, because every day is so different. You're a different person every time you do something. Every time you get up, you're a whole new person. And sometimes, you know how like when you do that thing where you go, man, tomorrow I really want to do that thing. I want to get up early, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And that's that person making that decision, but all of a sudden you come to that next day, and you don't want to do it. Or you don't have the same fervor that you did before. And you just think, oh, that's just motivation. And I really don't believe in a lot of that. I think more of like, that's just a totally another person that's come to surface. And that guy's kind of like, whether that's the one that you always sink into, so like when we get into ruts and stuff, where I'm not leaving the house for a while, or I'm not going back to the gym, or I'm not, going and doing this, I haven't finished a book in this long, whatever it is that you do, I think you can fall back into a like archetype of yourself. But I really think it has to do with the reason why it's hard to do it is because that's not the same fucking person. You can't really, what are you going to do? Like, this guy wants to do it, but this guy doesn't want to anymore. You might have overthought it at the time, thinking that you need to get in shape and this and that. But then the next day you realize, either because you're lazy, but maybe you have a realization of like, well, I don't think that's why I'm unhappy. I think it has a lot more to do with my job, right? There's too many conflicting things that we can sit down and narrow it, where I can say to you, like, this is it, and that's fucking all. Because that's the main thing I've noticed about our minds, is it's so vast. You can't just say, it's just this, and then that is just that, and sometimes it's this, and people think, oh, at the most it branches off 3 times. But surely it's simple. It's like, no, man, like, yes, it is simple, but it's simple in the fact that it's complex. That's what makes it so simple. Once you understand the complexities of human thought, that's when you say, yes, it is simple in that fact. But in reality, it's like, can you trace it, though? When you look at a simple design, whether it's from a vehicle, the way that they construct vehicles nowadays, or minimalism, like in a house, architecture, it looks simple, but you do it. you'll find that you can't really do it because you don't know how. That's what I'm trying to say, is like sometimes simplicity isn't as simple as we think. It's visually simple, or simple in the way of how we understand it, but it's complex in its nature. Which is one of the reasons why I was always so keen on I just love simple things. I always have. Like in the music I played, I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it subtle. Just because it says a lot more, I think. The more simple it is. And in that sense, it's like, how do you simplify thought? And how do you do that to just some sort of action through your day? Do you know what I'm saying? Like going the simple way. You can get overly complex when someone tells you to draw something, but you want to get the rudimentary thing out. You want to get the basic understanding. You keep it simple. That's something that expresses more, because what that's doing is it's allowing more interpretation in a smaller finite amount. If I draw you a stick figure and I say it's a man, it'll allow you to see it much deeply because you start to imagine your own. Do you know what I mean? It's the case of how our vision works in some sense, I think. I mean, you see it the same way in, like, think of it like this too. So simple design, well, simple we could say in terms of technology. Look at the television 35 years ago compared to now. We would call it grainier. We would say it's harder to see things on there, right? The borders were bigger around the television, and the colors weren't exactly realistic, and there was a bigger divide between us and it. Well, I think that's why we had not as hard of a time as diving into this imaginary place with these television shows and shit, because it was clear that this is not real. This is coming from a fucking machine that's buzzing slightly, you know? Nowadays, we want to make it so realistic, almost like a fucking window, and we wonder why we have a hard time in this world here when we're constantly telling our brain that, no, the colors in this are more real than the colors in the real world. And I can see the pores on their face. This is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of dumb shit that we like to do. But my point would be, going back, is the simplicity's sake, is it allows you to use your own self in determining something. If I draw something simply, and I tell you, like, this is a monster, you'll kind of be able to use your own mind in putting in the pieces that were left out. Perhaps. I don't know. That kind of realization I'll bring it all the way back. When people inside their minds have a harder time understanding themselves, I think the biggest thing you should do is simplify your thoughts. And the best way to do that is to trace them. So, like, you have an issue in your life, as I said before, you keep giving it whys. To go back in time with those whys, and you can get to the simple truth of it. If I'm fucking bothered by someone at work being upset, why am I bothered by that? Well, you know, like, I don't like when people are like that because it bothers me, and the fact that I just, like, I don't want to get involved in their lives. Like, okay, well, why do you feel that way? Like, well, I just, because in my life, you know, I always had to kind of take care of myself. So there was none of that. And I had to be strong for other people because I had people around me that needed my help. It's like, okay, well, why do you think that is? And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just keep going back and back and back until you get to the point where you say, I don't know why. The simple truth. Why are you upset by that thing? You get to the simple truth, and it says, okay, interpret that now. Go back into yourself and figure that out. And I think in some sense of that is how people can start to heal. You get to the simple truth. You get to the simple anything. And that's why I think it's so beautiful. I love simple, man. I really do. It's something that really that captures me. I'm going to jump in here real quick. The idea of simplicity's sake is saying to know thyself. It's simple, right? You just got to know yourself. But what I'm trying to say in this terms is like the complexity. So when I say the complexities are so complex that they're simple. It's so simple that it's complex. If you're trying to know thyself, what these examples I'm giving is, it's a fucking deep ride. It's not like, oh, all you gotta do is ask who you are. No, you have to go deeply into it. So when you have a problem on the surface level, you have to zoom in and ask the whys until you get to the unknown. And through that unknown, you start to go into that dark part of yourself, and you have to unravel that dark part of yourself. So that's what I'm trying to get at in this. I'm saying that's why I say it's simple, but it's complex. It's complex, but it's simple. It's the nature of how this all works. All you need to do is know yourself. That's the simple. But how is that complex? Try to know yourself right now. You can't. Just sitting there with one thought. You need to dive into self. And that's kind of these examples that I'm giving here. I'm not the best. This is a stream of consciousness, mind you, so I'm not really trying to prove anything to anybody, but I did want to make that clarification. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Is it is simple, but it's very complex at the same time. When I have a tough time in my book, or with a character, or with a motivation, or with something with the lore, you know what I mean? Like just kind of a thing in the book, I get it back to its most simplest form. What needs to stand in his way if I want to progress my character? What is the simple motivation behind if this character is part of this order of people that are trying to wipe out another group of people, why? And I try to get to the simple truth of the organization, let's say in this case, and then why does one person inside that organization feel that way? What in their life happened that made them hate this group of people? And you go back all to the beginning, and you could see how that would cast their own motivations and shit. But the reality is, you went as simple as you could. Then you can complicate it later. You know what I mean? It's like creating the structure of thought or any artistic expression. You get the simple form down. If you're going to draw a human face, you got to draw that circle. You got to create that area where where, the grid, if you will, where, okay, the nose will be here, and he's going to be at this angle, so I'll draw it like that. Just to give it's simple. You kind of sketch out the eyes, the nose, and the mouth where it's going to be, and you kind of fill things in a bit. And it's a simple drawing. If I were to take it from you, I'd say this is dumb. But the fact is, you're simply walking in, and you're starting to explore it. If you're trying to play a new sport or something, you got to learn the rules first. Keep it simple. Learn how to pass the puck with the stick before you start jumping into the fucking game. You know what I mean? Learn the basics of it. If you want to understand the complexity of your own mind, start simply. Just nice and simple. Why am I upset today? And then you can go forward later and complicate shit and go deeper into the rabbit holes of life. And that goes for every fucking thing. And I just think that a lot of times people forget that, you know? I really do. I think that there's a case to be said of why we like to confuse and complicate so many things, you know? But we think we're making it simple. I mean, look at the world around you. Look at the fucking shit people are saying and doing, everything that's going on in our fucking world around you. Look what people have done with their thoughts, and what they're trying to do with your thoughts and their thoughts. The fact is, you are not part of that grand fucking human bullshit that's happening on the television screen or your fucking phone, most likely. That's not you. That never was. That's not even them. The fact is, if to keep it in the terms of simplicity's sake, if you want to expose yourself to something or take yourself away from a thought form, you have to approach it in a simple way, right? So if certain things are bothering you, like you fucking don't like the politics of the world, it's starting to really get to you. Doesn't matter what side, you don't even know what to believe anymore. Well, then take yourself from it, because that never was you in the first place anyway. But for this sake, take yourself away, simple-facedly. Simply remove things that remind you of it. I don't know, you have an American flag in your fucking house. You have some sort of fucking picture of a president. I don't goddamn know, but things that remind you of what it is that upsets you in this. All of a sudden, you're not faced with it every day. That's a simple beginning. And then you can complicate it later. Then you can start diving in and then get to the point where, like, what truly bothers you? Why did you think you needed that in the first place? And blah, blah, blah. And then you can find the complexities of life, and you can do all this fucking shit of self-exploration. I'm saying the word a lot because I'm trying to show you life is as simple as you make it, and it's as complex as you make it. But if you truly want to understand something, you truly want to break it down, you have to keep it simple. You have to start at the basics, right? That's like the most common fucking thing you could ever do. The same can be said with the shit that's in your head. So when you have problems in your life that you don't know how to face, or you don't even necessarily know how to identify, you think you kind of do, but if someone really forced it out of you, you'd be like, well, actually, I don't really know. It's like, okay, well, let's start simply then. And we can work ground level. And we'll kind of tiptoe our way up until we get to the point where we're making true progress. That's why therapy does it that way. We got to get to the root cause, start on the outside and work your way in, man. You don't just dive in like, what happened to you in your childhood? You know what I mean? Like, you can't, I don't know. If we can trigger the events in the right way, in the right time, then that's how we begin the healing process of letting things go. And the biggest word that I always use, that I've used probably 50 times already, is simplicity. Same analogy with my song. I want to show you something in a song, a feeling, something I want you to sense. I'm not going to complicate it with a bunch of fucking notes. Some people can. I won't. I'm going to make it nice and simple. 3 fucking notes. I'm going to play them a certain way. That way that drone will lock you in. And then all of a sudden I can help you find the stuff in the song that's happening. As I was a bass player, that was my biggest role. Is I create the foundation, but how can I find a way to play the notes, but also kind of draw you in enough with that, so now I go listen to the guitar, go listen to the drums, listen to the vocals. That was my role. So I didn't want to be complex in that. If I was complex, while our complex guitar player was over here, and the vocals had some complexities to them, well, that just kind of ruins it, doesn't it? You need something simple to kind of help guide you in. If I want to show you a sport, like if you don't watch hockey and I really want to show you it, I'm not going to throw you in like, this is the middle of the fucking playoffs, just sit down and watch it with me, and I won't say anything. Like, no, I'm going to like walk you through things. I'm going to show you some games. I'm going to kind of guide you with the understanding of it. What are the rules? What is the point of the game? You know what I mean? I'm guiding you in just so you can kind of realize, because the biggest thing is everyone's got this fucking wall up with life. I just don't like that. I never did. And you know that's bullshit, because anything can be liked if you try hard enough. So the idea is to keep it simple, is to be, it's to break the door open of whatever it is. The fact that I believe that everyone can sing and everyone can play an instrument, even though most people think they can't. I'm like, yes, you can. You sitting with me for a little bit, I can crack that fucking door open and I can show you. How do I show you? I tell you to strum one, like we get to the point where you're comfortable enough to strum one note. You do that, I'll play something along to it, and I'm like, look at it, you just played a fucking song with me. Very simply, you only played one note, but you just played a fucking song with me. See how we did it simply, and you got this same experience of I got to play in a song? We can complicate it later. We can go back into that when you're better at it, and we can make this song complex in all its parts, but let's not go there right now. Let's just tiptoe our way into this. I don't know how people can't see that life is everything. If you do that in a song, if you do that in sports, right? You know, learn to fucking skate on ice before you start playing a game of hockey. If you learn to do that with everything else, why the fuck wouldn't you do that with the way that you think? If you want to fix the way you think, why the fuck would you just dive in nuts deep and just go, yeah, let's just solve my fucking problems of my childhood that I don't remember. Let's just do that. You can't, man. Like, you gotta tread into the waters. You know, with that analogy, if I don't know how to swim, would you just throw my ass into the deep end and go like, you'll figure it out? No, you'd show me how to get to the deep end, you know? That's the basics of how I try to help people. Because a lot of times people come to me with their own minds, or they want me to help them with something, or help them see something, or unravel something, or want to talk therapeutically about stuff. And that's because I'm not a real therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever the fuck ists there are. I don't know how to help people. I just know how to help myself, in a sense. So all I ever do is that. It's just like, let's just start from the bottom and work our way up, man. Beginner to advanced. And bada boom, bada bing. Maybe we'll come to something. Right, Mama? I don't know if any of that was relevant, but that was stream of consciousness, and I got it out. So, I'm sure there's nothing to it. I'm sure nobody gives a flying fuck. And the guy that was at the door, the asshole me, was right. So, I am kind of a piece of shit, aren't I? Alright, man. I gotta go.